Sarissa shook her head. No, protecting a secret is squarely in Fulla's domain. Learning, in this case learning the secret, is well within my own, so I'm the strongest one of the three of us when it comes to this, and the amount of effort I just poured in makes me think that the others helping me wouldn't make much of a difference. So how do we get in then? I asked. Jerry, I'm gay. I blinked and turned to Gary. What? I asked. It's not really a secret per se, but I know you didn't know, and I don't advertise it, but yeah, I'm strictly dickly. I frowned. Didn't you tell me you didn't swing that way during our escape from that school? I don't swing in the direction of getting freaky in the middle of a firefight, son. And truth be told, you ain't my type. I don't know whether to be insulted or I started to say, but then a grinding sound cut me off. I looked back at the door, which had shifted. It now protruded from the frame by an inch or two. Sarissa snapped her fingers. That's it, she exclaimed. Gary, go get the others. Jerry, you need to tell us a secret. Gary flashed me a wink, another reminder that he was as smart as they come, and then took off to fetch Kathy and Inanna. Huh. I really never pegged him as gay. My worries about him stealing Inanna away from me seem silly now. I thought about it. I needed a secret to share. I flailed around for a bit and fired off the first thing that came to mind. Sarissa, the night we met, I was extremely disappointed that you weren't anatomically correct. I just started to hope that maybe you would... She shook her head and raised a hand. Jerry, that's not a secret. But, I said, Gary just said that him being gay wasn't a secret and it worked. Sarissa laughed. Yeah, because it wasn't just blatantly obvious. I mean, I pointed out my lack of reproductive organs specifically because you were pitching a tent in your shorts at the time. Sorry, you'll need to come up with a secret. Speaking of which, Jerry, if you had pushed the issue, I'd have relented and slept with you that night. I didn't really want it, but I also really wanted to make you happy so you would continue to keep me in your thoughts. The door rumbled again, scraping forward. Just then, Inanna and Kathy walked in. Kathy didn't hesitate, announcing, I masturbate to thoughts of disemboweling that schizo fuck Astram gave me to at night, and it's the most satisfying fantasy I've ever had. All of us stopped and turned to stare at her, even Sarissa. All of us had shocked expressions on our faces, even Inanna. What? I gasped. I barely heard the door rumbling. Kathy shrugged. Ever since I realized what was going on, I realized that I actually have a chance to get back at that piece of shit. The thought of torturing him right back after what he did to me is the most delicious thing I could think of. I don't want to do it to anyone else. I just want to get my hands on him and make him fucking pay. We all stared. Eventually, Gary took a deep breath. Well, alrighty then. Who's next? And Anna raised a hand, then stepped forward towards the door. Eros was the second best lover I ever had. The third best couldn't even hold a candle to him. I blinked again as the door rumbled forward an inch or two. It was almost out. Tentatively, I asked, who was the best? A mortal, she replied dismissively. You wouldn't know him. I nodded. I mean, of course I was disappointed, but realistically, I figured I was probably somewhere near the bottom of the pack. I mean, I was a virgin the night she jumped me. It was understandable, really. Expecting anything else would have been a fantasy. Still hurt, though. All eyes were on me, and with my brain distracted by my own feelings of inadequacy, inspiration was able to come. I've been communing with a Neanderthal tribal chief named Yarm, one of the souls Ixie gave me. He waged a war against humans who were encroaching on his territory and managed to win far more battles than he had any right to, given his tribe's small size. He's been sharing ideas of masculinity and courage with me. I'm kind of hoping it'll make me more manly. The door moved forward the last few inches, then toppled to the ground with a massive thud that made Kathy, Gary, and I all jump. Well, Kathy said, looks like we're in. She stepped forward, flicking on the flashlight attached to her gun. We all followed her. The room was small, betraying the thickness of the walls. There were no windows, of course, but tiny alcoves carved high up suggested a place where candles could have been placed. In the center, there was a simple round pedestal carved right out of the rock along with the rest of the structure, and on top of the pedestal there rested a simple-looking key. It was readily identifiable, a loop of metal with a rod protruding and two teeth along one edge of the rod. It looked to have been made of gold, and the dust that filled the room didn't touch it. Not a trace of tarnish could be seen. Sarissa stepped forward and tentatively touched the key. When nothing happened, she picked it up. This is it. This is the first key. I grinned and looked at Gary, who grinned right back. Inanna walked up to me and wrapped an arm around my waist, so I draped my own arm over her shoulders and turned my grin on her. 1 down, I said. 3 to go, she added. Kathy approached Sarissa, examining the key. So this is it, huh? She asked. Sarissa nodded. It's about exactly what I was expecting, except not as ornate. Shapes have power, Sarissa said. To make a magical key, it must be identifiable as a key to any intelligent being who sees it. Too much decoration would make it look impractical, which would reduce its power. The most powerful magical artifacts in the world all look quite functional, simple versions of the tools they are. So is that it, then? Gary asked. That's it, Sarissa said. We're done here. We should get going before Jeff lets slip where we went and more of those paramilitants show up. Gary, you're driving, Inanna said, and Jerry and I have dibs on the storage compartment. Kathy made a face at us. Inanna had used her power to convert the storage area in the back into a love nest for us, complete with a soundproof barrier between it and the rear seats. Our luggage was strapped to the top, and she'd worked some mystical geometry to make the storage area bigger on the inside than the outside. From looking at the vehicle from the outside, it looked to be a rectangular area about 3 feet by 5 feet by 3 feet tall, but once we entered, either from the door in the barrier or from the rear hatch, it stretched out into the size of a California king bed with an 8-foot ceiling. The floor was padded, and a dozen small pillows, as well as a pair of blankets, were strewn about. The others had sometimes used it for naps, and Inanna and I used it for, well, different purposes. That knowledge didn't seem to bother anyone else, though. Even Kathy had taken a nap back there, despite looking disgusted any time Inanna openly discussed our sex life. The others shrugged, and we all walked out. As we left, I heard more scraping and turned to watch the door lift itself up and seal the portal shut again. A breeze kicked up, erasing our footsteps. By the time we were outside of the cave, there was no trace of us left inside. A few hours later, Inanna collapsed onto the mattress next to me in the back of the Range Rover. Fuck champagne, she said. That's how you celebrate. She grinned at me and ran a hand over my sweaty chest. Inanna, I said quietly, will you teach me how to be as good as your best lover? She propped herself up on one elbow and ran her hand further down. A thrill of pleasure shot through me as her hand reached my, well, you know. I gasped, enjoying the sensation. Jerry, you dumb, sexy, insecure, beautiful man. If you had even the slightest bit of honest self-knowledge, you'd never have even asked who that was. I swear, everyone in this vehicle knows you better than you know yourself. She gave me a squeeze and then lifted herself up and sat on my face. The end.